Classroom of the Elite Season 3 has finally concluded, with all 13 episodes finally being out, and of course me watching all of them. I am now going to give my thoughts on the overall season because there is a lot to talk about. Now, originally I was planning on doing breakdown videos for every episode that aired, but things just didn't go exactly as planned. More specifically, it had to do with copyright. For some reason, no matter how much I tried changing my original video in which I was going to talk about the first episode and breaking it down, it was just constant copyright problems, and at that point I just gave up and decided to wait until all 13 episodes came out, and then I will give my overall thoughts about it, which I am doing now. Now, of course, since I am going to be talking about everything that happened in Classroom of the Elite Season 3, there is going to be spoilers. So if you haven't finished Season 3, then you have been warned because this is going to contain spoilers. So now that that's out of the way, let's just begin. Of course, I'm mainly going to be talking about almost every arc and how the anime adapted every single novel, because they did adapt it in many different ways, and of course, some of them were good, some of them were not so great, and then some of them were just like in the middle where it was okay but it wasn't the best thing. So we're going to start with episodes 1 and 2, which adapted volume 8, which is also known as the training camp arc. Now, I have been very open about why I don't like this arc. It wasn't bad, but it's probably one of my least favorite arcs of year 1 of Classroom of the Elite, and I'm not alone in this. There are many Classroom of the Elite fans who have read the novels who have also stated that this is not their favorite arc. So I wasn't really too bothered when only 2 episodes adapted the entirety of this volume. Now, of course, there were some people, which I was actually surprised, were actually mad that they didn't adapt it correctly, volume 8, that they only gave them 2 episodes, but I think the majority of people were fine with it because they probably also knew as well that this is an arc that not a lot of people were excited for, and this is probably because of many different things. I already stated them in the past. I even made a video about it in which I stated how the reason why this volume isn't really that liked by so many people is because there really wasn't a lot of things going on. Like, most of the favorite characters that people enjoy, they didn't exist in this volume for whatever reason. It mostly centered about characters that you probably didn't really care for, or you didn't really got to know them as much during these times, like Ishizaki or Albert or Hashimoto. These are characters that were always in the background, but they never really had the spotlight. And when they did have a spotlight in this volume, it wasn't really that interesting because, well, you haven't really developed these characters, so not a lot of people are going to be caring for these characters when they have interactions with Ayanokoji. And I think the only saving grace for this volume was, of course, the Ayanokoji moment, but also the Koenji moments, because Koenji is a very interesting character, so seeing him do pretty much whatever he wants in this volume was really just funny to see, because that's something that you would expect from Koenji by now. And also the other saving grace of this arc was, of course, Nagumo, and I'm finally glad that the anime finally gave him some scenes, because Nagumo has pretty much been cut out in a lot of moments in Classroom of the Elite. Like, there were a lot of moments that were supposed to happen in season 2 with Nagumo that never got adapted, and that's really a shame because Nagumo is one of those characters that at first you didn't think too much of, but you saw how much of a huge threat he was, and he showed it very clearly in the training camp arc and his plot to take down Tachibana. That was something that was very important for his character. And of course, it is still shown in this arc in the anime, but it was basically more building up in the novels. So overall, while the training camp arc is my least favorite, it was pretty impressive to see that the anime did a decent job trying to capture the biggest or the somewhat good moments of this arc. Even if it wasn't fully adapting everything, it's the best they could on an arc that not a lot of people were huge fans of. Now, moving on to volume 9, this is of course the rumors arc, and this is mainly focused on Ichinose as a character and also her past, because if you have read this arc, seen the anime, you would know that this is the moment where Sakayanagi tried to take down Ichinose using one of her darkest secrets, and I think the anime did a decent job adapting this. Of course, there were a lot of moments that I wish were included, a lot of conversations that were cut short, but that's basically what I expected because this is also a very long arc as well. And comparing it to the training camp arc, it's at least somewhat more better than that arc because there was a lot of more interesting things happening, learning about Ichinose's past, learning about why she wanted to run away from her past and what led her to the school that she is now. I think those were moments that they really captured well. Of course, I really was curious to see how they were going to adapt Ichinose's past, as to, of course, if you have watched it, you would know that Ichinose's secret was that she used to shoplift. Now, out of all the things that could have been revealed, I think this is still by far one of the biggest letdowns. Of course, this isn't the anime's fault because this is included in the novel. A lot of people wish that Ichinose's past was much more like impactful, because her just simply robbing ones at a store, while yes, robbing is bad and you should never shoplift, I think this is not really such a big deal like she made it out to be. But I'm glad to finally see it get animated, not to mention as well the whole how Ayanokoji was able to get Ichinose to move away from her past and just stand her ground is actually very different from the novel. In the novel, I haven't read volume 9 in a while, but from what I remember, the way Ayanokoji saved Ichinose in this moment was that she was at her door and Ayanokoji just simply sat on her door every single day and waited for her to just simply confess as to what she was doing, which was a very interesting approach and something that I didn't expect Ayanokoji to do. But in the anime, they actually changed this approach where it's just a moment in which Ayanokoji confronts Ichinose about her past, and this leads to Ichinose having a breakdown, which I think it's really interesting how they changed that. And I think I prefer the anime version of how things went out because it really is impactful, and this maybe has something to do with the voice acting, because Ichinose's VA did a fantastic job showing just how broken she was at this moment and how clearly she has been holding all her emotions of this secret for a really long time, and she didn't let it out until, of course, Ayanokoji was the one to finally set her free. Of course, I like the other little details as well that they included that they actually adapted in the anime, which is of course the Valentine's Day in which Kei gives Ayanokoji chocolates. I think that was obviously something that they were going to adapt because a lot of people do enjoy Kyoke, so it's not surprising they were going to adapt this. Of course, Komuro also now finally made her debut. In the past, there were like a few moments with her or she was always in the background, but now she is fully having conversations and she's now finally been introduced to the series. This is similar to how Nazuna was introduced in the training camp arc, because these are two characters that are going to be important for future events that happens in the story. So yeah, that was also great to see. It was also great to see the whole story between Komuro and Sakayanagi, how they ended up becoming, allies. So overall, it's very clear that the anime put more effort into this arc than the previous one, probably because this was at least the one that people did like and people did like better than volume 8. It's not the best arc, but it's an arc that a lot of people can tolerate. So overall, I think they did a decent job adapting this volume as well. Now moving on to the probably one of the most memorable arcs of this series is of course volume 10. This is the in-class voting exam arc, in which this is where the class had to get rid of somebody from their own class, which was a very serious and very intense moment of the series. Like, this is something that a lot of people were really hoping Lurch did correctly, and they did, but there is very clearly some things that they could have done better. Now, the anime did try their best, but I feel like they could have done more to make this arc really more intense. In the novel, it was really intense from the moment this exam was introduced, but of course this did have its very good highlights, like Hirata showing his other side that many of the other characters were shocked seeing, because he is usually the most calmest and friendliest guy. So to see him be very controlling and him demanding that, when Horikita wanted Yamauchi to get expelled, seeing him, pretty much go at Horikita, it's something that was very unusual for a lot of the characters. And speaking of Yamauchi, of course, this is the arc where Yamauchi gets expelled from the school. Now, I'm pretty sure nobody was sad at the fact that this character was expelled, because he has shown over the course of the entirety of Clash of the Elite that he's very insufferable, and the main things that he said and did didn't make him any better. Just him pretty much always making fun of other characters, him just being very ignorant, and him being perfectly fine betraying the class during this arc just so that he could maybe, just maybe, have a chance with dating Sakayanagi, because of course Sakayanagi was using Yamauchi to see, what Ayanokoji was going to do in the situation, and what was going to happen. And of course this was also done because Sakayanagi wanted revenge against Yamauchi because of what happened in the training camp, in which Yamauchi tripped her by accident, but he pretty much didn't really seem to be sorry, and even made a comment saying that why didn't Sakayanagi look where she was going. With all of this combined, it's not surprising that all the terrible things that he said and did were going to come back and haunt him. So seeing him, cry and be sad at the fact that he's no longer going to be a part of this school was just hilarious. Like, I did not even feel bad for this guy to be expelled from the school, and I think the anime did a good job showcasing this, how frustrated and angry he was when he found out that he was being expelled. This also includes as well another memorable moment as well with Horikita and her conversation with Manabu, in which Horikita finally realizes that she needs to be doing things that needs to be done as a leader in order to get to class A. She no longer needs to be following her brother's shadow, and it seems that her finally having a decent conversation with her brother is what really motivated her to take over this exam and do what she felt was the right thing to do. So overall, volume 10, I did wish that it was handled more better, because I feel like the novel did a much more fantastic job showing just how intense this part of the story was, showing how every character seemed to be intense and worried that they were going to be expelled. And of course, all the things that were happening behind the scenes was also interesting to see, that sadly were also cut from the anime because due to how long it was going to take if this were to get adapted. And then moving on to volume 11, this is of course the battle between Sakayanagi and Ayanokoji. The battle that a lot of people were waiting for to see how they were going to adapt it, and once again it was decent. I do think that this battle was something that a lot of people were looking forward to, mainly because unlike the battle between Ryuen and Ayanokoji, which was a physical battle, this is the battle of the brains. And so to see two smart characters going after each other in this exam was really interesting to see. Of course, I really do like how Lurch also used a few flashbacks to show us why Sakayanagi, is so infatuated with Ayanokoji. Why does she enjoy chess so much? Why she has been practicing to playing chess. I think these flashbacks were done well, because it does show us that even though Sakayanagi and Ayanokoji haven't really, seen each other a whole lot, they have a long history, even though they probably didn't think they were ever going to see each other face to face, but here they are. And of course, the other highlights also include the whole conversation between Hirata and Ayanokoji, in which Ayanokoji finally tells Hirata that, the only way he could save the class is if he becomes a much more better person, and he does things no matter what it takes to save the class. So it was great to see that get adapted, although in the novel I do say it's much more better, because Ayanokoji is actually sitting next to Hirata listening to him out, and I think it's just simply a very impactful, wholesome moment, because you see Ayanokoji trying to help somebody out that is dealing with a lot, whereas in the anime it made it look like Ayanokoji knew this was going to happen, this was all just a part of a plan, and the reason why he was saying to Hirata that he needed to become a better person and to work harder to save the class was just so that he could accomplish his plan, when that's not really exactly the case that was happening in the light novel. The one thing I wish the anime did adapt was the battle of Ryuen and Ichinose, because this was actually a very important battle, not just for Ichinose but for Ryuen as well. It showed us that he has finally come back after his defeat with Ayanokoji, and he is going to try to take down Ichinose and Sakayanagi once and for all. I think this was necessary because it showed us also what Ryuen was willing to do to win, which, if you're not a light novel reader, in actuality the way Ryuen beat Class B was because Ryuen actually gave Class B members laxative, therefore they couldn't do well in the exam, which just showed us what he was willing to do, even if what he did not only harm people, but it was also against school rules. That is something that is unfortunately not included in the anime, and I wish that wasn't the case. Now moving on to 11.5, this being the end of first year. This is where we get to see all the things that, pretty much are going to be a setup for second year. We see finally the conversation with Horikita and Manabu one last time, in which Manabu says goodbye to not just Ayanokoji, but to the school as well, as he has already graduated his 3rd year. We see Ayanokoji is really respectful towards Manabu, and he's probably the only person that Ayanokoji has great respect for, which is nice to see finally get adapted. We see Horikita finally tell Manabu that she was in the wrong and that her line of thinking was wrong, and she's showing how much she's actually trying to change, not just by her saying that she's going to be her own person, but also changing her appearance as well, as she's cut her hair in this moment as well, since it was revealed that the only reason why Horikita even had long hair was because she thought this was the preference that Manabu liked. He liked seeing girls with long hair, so she let her hair grow, even though she always liked having short hair. So it's these moments that were really great to see finally get adapted. We also had, of course, the thing that a lot of people were looking forward to, and this was Kei and Ayanokoji finally being together, which is basically going to be shown more in the following year, in 2nd year, and we're going to see how much progress their relationship is and is going to have in the future. So that's pretty much overall the entirety of season 3 of Clash of the Elite. It had some good moments, it also had some bad moments, and I just overall think it's a very mixed reaction of how I feel about this season. Obviously, I don't really know where to begin with how this could have been done so much better. I feel like it's great to see characters that, are finally being introduced in this series, like Nazuna, Nagumo, Kamuro. We finally get to see them finally be animated, but at the same time, there were many characters that I wish got their own moment as well, because that's what really makes Clash of the Elite special. It isn't just moments with Ayanokoji or Horikita or the main cast of characters, it's also the side characters as well that makes this story all the more interesting to read. Clash of the Elite is one of those stories that if you're going to adapt it into an anime, you're going to need more than just 12 or 13 episodes. You're going to need at least 20 plus episodes to really show us what makes this story great and why so many people are huge fans of this series. Of course, that being said, if you're an anime only, you're not really going to see the changes or the many things that happen in the anime as a big deal, because you don't know what is in the light novel, so you really don't know how much of the source material is being used and what is not. But if you're a light novel reader like myself, then you very quickly can tell how drastically different the anime is from the light novel. And it's unfortunate that, the anime could have done much more better than it has to, because every time Clash of the Elite anime is always up in discussions. You have people say they like it, some people don't like it, and just recommend you to read the light novels because it's a much more better source than the anime, which I do tend to agree sometimes. I do feel like if you want the full experience of Clash of the Elite, then you might as well just read the novels, and if you are interested in watching the anime first, then you should go right ahead and then read the novels, so then you can see how different it is. But overall, while the anime isn't perfect, I still had a great time watching it every week. Every episode I didn't mind seeing. I never felt bored or felt like it had to be a chore to watch the entirety of an episode, because every episode was just simply something that I enjoyed watching every single week. I did enjoy how some very iconic and memorable moments in Clash of the Elite got adapted and finally got animated, although that being said, there were some moments that were cut completely. Like in volume 11.5, there was a moment in which Horikita cried because she regrets not having spent so much time with her bird because of the way she used to be. That got cut, which was shocking to me because this is a very important moment, not just for her character, but for her growth as well. I'm kind of confused to this very day why in the trailer they showed so many illustrations that we thought were going to get adapted, but they didn't get adapted whatsoever. Not to mention that the animation in this season was very similar to season 2, which is also confusing because for those who don't know, originally Clash of the Elite was supposed to come out in the fall of 2023. That was where season 3 was supposed to air, but then it got delayed until winter 2024, and many people thought, including myself, that this means that they're going to put more effort into the animation and make sure it looks good. But it looks very still the same as season 2. In fact, there's one episode, infamously now known, episode 9 of season 3. It looks very bad. Like, the character designs are so off. I can clearly tell that this was outsourced. Like, this was not Lurch doing them, because they just look very weird, the character designs. Not to mention that, I don't know, it's just something about the episode that just seems really off-putting compared to the other episodes. Also, another thing that's also worth mentioning is how some episodes also felt rushed as well. Like there were many scenes that were clearly, going really fast just to get to the next point, which really just killed the character development or the impact of that scene that was going to be effective in the near future as well. So overall, my final thoughts of the season, it was decent. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. I do think that if they do plan on making year 2 and they do plan on adapting those volumes as well, they need to have somebody else do it. Like Karakawa really needs to have a different studio do it, because Lurch just isn't the studio to do it at all. I know that they aren't always in a wrong, because they're not always going to have decisions. Like for example, the episodes, I am fully aware that Karakawa is the one that tells them how many episodes this series is going to have and how many episodes will it have, and that's something that's beyond their control. But I feel like they should at least put somewhat more effort into adapting this, because it's very clear they have their moments in which they do put full effort, but then there's moments that they just clearly don't put as much effort, which it shouldn't be inconsistent. You shouldn't have moments where you could tell they're putting effort and moments where you feel like they're not doing anything at all with the source, and that's just a really great shame. If they do happen to make year 2, I would prefer a different studio to do it, or I would prefer Karakawa to give them more episodes to make, because you can't make Classroom the Elite with just 12 or 13 episodes. And that's all I'm going to say at the moment. So far, at the time of recording this, there hasn't been an announcement that second year is in development or something like that, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But yeah, that's pretty much my quick thoughts of this season. If I were to go to every single detail about what I liked and what I didn't like about season 3, then we'd be here all day. So yeah, that's where I'm going to end the video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.